The last step we have here on our drill press project is counterboring the actual holes. We've drilled and tapped, we've drilled for the counterbore. Now we're actually going to put the counterbore into our part. We have different size of counterbores. You can see here we have 300, 400, and 500 series. We said on this one we're drilling for a 3/8 300 series. The 3/8 series is right here. So you have a 3/8 300 counterbore, a 400 counterbore, and a 500 counterbore. Okay? The counterbore tool that we're going to use is already in the machine. And once I have it in the machine, I'm going to take my pilot size and I'm going to bring it down here so that it fits inside this hole. That's how we can line it up. Line it up with your pilot. Then on my gauge right here, I know on my print it doesn't really call out a depth, but if you're using a 3/8 300 series counterbore, the depth is going to be the same as what the pilot size is, 406. Right? This gauge is incremented in 1/16 inch increments. So if I were to set this at a number, what's close to 406 as a decimal? What's a little bit bigger than 13/32, which is 7/16. 7/16 is 437. Now, if we count up 7/16 from the 2, there's 1/16, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/16, but it's not quite the 7/16, is it? It's going to be 32 thousandths short of that. So I'm going to move this back in between there. I'm going to kind of split the difference, just eyeballing it up. And when we do the drill press work, this isn't as accurate as a milling machine or as a lathe. This is going to get us close. We're working in fractional dimensions now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this gauge. When it gets down to the 2, that means I know that I'm at my 406 depth, my 13/32. So I'm going to do this at a low RPM. I'm going to change my RPMs. I'm going to go back to 75 RPMs. I'm going to turn this on. And I'm going to start feeding down in. As I feed, and put a little coolant on it. I'm going to stop every now and then to allow the chips to break. And this is going to give me that nice flat bottom on our hole that's going to recess the head of our socket head cap screws in our parts. I'm watching my gauge here. I see that I have about 1/8 of an inch to go. I'm getting close to my depth, so I want to continue to watch. I've got about 1/16 of an inch. Whenever I get down to the 2-inch mark, what I'm going to do now is I've hit the 2-inch mark. I'm going to let my tool sit there and ride for a second. It's called a dwell. So it's going to dwell there to make sure it gets all of the chips, all the burrs removed off of the bottom. And then I'm going to allow it to release and come back up. Remove our chips with a brush. We have a counterbored hole. The last step in the process is going to be to take this out, counterbore tool. We're going to again go to our countersinks. I'm going to get a countersink tool that is going to go down inside here that I can countersink the top of my hole. Still running a low RPM. I'm going to allow my tool to move freely. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to break the chip on the top of the tool. Now you see all the further down I countersunk it? All I want is to break that top chip. I don't need it countersunk really, really deep. I just don't want to burr on the top of my part. When I'm done doing that to the whole side on here, what I'll do is I'll take my part out of the vise, I'll clean everything off, I'll flip it over, and I'll countersink the bottom. You see there's big burrs on the bottom of this, burrs on the bottom of this. What I want to do is I want to eliminate those burrs. So I'll put it back in, tighten it up, and I'll re-countersink this side here.